I remember a time in 2019 when I was unwell and I had to spend some days in the hospital. Now, I probably wouldn't have had to stay longer than one night, but as a diabetic, any kind of illness tends to have an effect on my blood sugar levels, so the doctors had to keep me until my readings were back to normal. Unfortunately, this turned out to be a lot more difficult to accomplish than anyone anticipated. They kept giving me more and more insulin, but for some reason nobody understood. My blood sugar levels simply refused to drop. It didn't matter what time of the day we checked, it was still high. First thing in the morning, 2 hours before dinner, didn't matter. The readings kept coming back high. It just made no sense. I was doing everything right. I was eating at the correct times, I was correctly calculating the doses, but all our correct actions were still giving us the wrong results. As the days went by, I started to get extremely frustrated. Why was the treatment not working? None of the doctors or nurses could explain to me why the medicine wasn't working, why my body appeared to be defying tried and tested science. It was the most frustrating experience I've ever been through. But I also realized that this was a familiar feeling. You know, when things don't work the way they are supposed to, and you don't know why, it can sometimes make you want to grab tufts of your hair and systematically rip them out while banging your head at a steady rhythm against a rough concrete wall. When you have credit and a full signal, but you can't get on the internet. When a brand new pen you just wrote with suddenly won't produce any marks on the paper. When your Visa card gets declined even though you know there's money in your account. When your computer can't recognize the perfectly fine pen drive that you just used to copy files from another laptop minutes ago. We have all experienced this familiar frustration at one time or the other. It's human nature. When things don't function the way they were made to, they don't just become useless, they become infuriatingly nugatory. Look up that word, nugatory. So imagine how people feel about you if you are a customer services officer who refuses to give your customers service, or a receptionist who is too busy chatting on your phone to receive visitors, or a police officer who permits crime for a fee, or a nurse who makes patients feel worse, or a Christian who is nothing like Christ. How will the citizens feel in a country where the health insurance doesn't cover your health care, the police don't protect you, the judiciary doesn't give you justice, the parliamentarians don't respect their constituents, and the presidency can't take charge? All things and all people have a purpose, and when we fail to fulfill our purpose, we become valueless to those who should consider us valuable. It's bad enough if our presence on earth adds no value to the planet. But not only do we fail to be of use, our uselessness also causes frustration and anger. My dear friends, we all like to think that we're special. We believe in ourselves, and we have faith in a great destiny laid out before us. But one does not trip and fall into greatness. You don't fall asleep in obscurity and then wake up in prominence. No. The journey to prominence, to relevance, to success, well, that journey is made in small daily steps by functioning as you have been assigned to function on a daily basis. By doing your job, by fulfilling your purpose, you build the bricks that will someday become the monument of your destiny. Plus, you'll be surprised how things stop malfunctioning around you when you stop malfunctioning yourself. My name is Kojo Yankson, and I can't receive what God made for me if I don't first achieve what God made me for. Good morning, Ghana.
Good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita CBD. Now in our first story, a private school in Akosombo in the Asojaman district of the Eastern region has recorded 42 positive COVID-19 cases out of a total of 500 samples taken. Health officials say all the students are asymptomatic and are responding to treatment. Data available indicates the Eastern region recorded 322 confirmed cases, 152 with 9 deaths between the 1st and the 2nd February 2021. Now, the Eastern Regional Capital, Koforidua, has the most cases with 123 confirmed cases, followed by Asajaman with 70 cases, with Barim Central and with 20 cases. Akuapem South and Denchiyambwa districts have 16 cases each, with the other districts having less than 10 cases. Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Winfred Ofosu, disclosed that most of the cases are coming from the communities.
For the 2021, we've recorded 322 cases as at 2nd February. And the total active cases that we have now is 158. Okay. We have also recorded 9 deaths. So those are the best statistics for Eastern region.
For now. So this afternoon, we're learning that a school in the region has recorded 40 cases. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, there's a school in Asojaman who has recorded a number of cases. They've recorded 42 cases, but there are still some results which are pending. But most of them are asymptomatic, and currently they are at isolation in the school. They are all in good condition. 42
cases, you said?
Yes.
How did we find this out? Was there some kind of mass testing in the area to, or
yes,
was this?
It was a mass testing that was done. One person had symptoms and was tested and was positive. So they decided to screen the entire school, and they tested over 500 students. So that's how come we had that number. And most of them didn't have any symptoms. They were asymptomatic. But because the screening was done, they were picked out. That's why we have such
Which school is this?
I have to try and get it for you.
Well, I mean, if there's a reason why authorities do not want to mention the name of the school, because we've been trying to get this. If there's a reason, we can take an explanation, I think.
No, I have to get the name of the school for you. I mean, it's in the Asojaman district.
Now, the police in Wa have arrested 83 people for failing to wear nose masks in public. Though the region continues to record increasing cases of COVID-19, the compliance to the health safety protocols remains a challenge. Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Following the fiat from the president a couple of weeks ago, ordering the Ghana Police Service to ensure the strict enforcement of the wearing of nose masks by the people, the Upper West Region's Police Command for a week first engaged in a vigorous sensitization of the people at churches, mosques, and markets on the need to adhere to safety health protocols, especially the wearing of nose masks. The Upper West Region has so far recorded 220 COVID-19 cases. 65 of the cases are active, 4 at a treatment center, 61 attended to at homes, and 8 deaths. Despite the sprawling figures of the new cases, the people seemed unconcerned, thereby forcing the Ghana Police Service to this morning embark on a special exercise to arrest persons who failed to wear the nose masks. 83 persons were arrested in the 1-hour exercise. Chief Inspector Gideon Boateng is the Upper West Region's Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Police Service.
At about 9 o'clock in the morning, the command went out there. We went to some places like KJTR here in Wa, the main traffic light, the headquarters roundabout here, and then the NIB area. We were able to arrest 83 people comprising 17 female and then 66 male. They all paraded here at the regional headquarters. They were speaking in the north shed. They were giving warning letters to go and be good behavior and to comply with the COVID protocols. And the next time their names have been put down. And whenever they are caught, any of them, they will be put before court.
All 83 persons arrested were each given nose masks by the police.
There are some of them, the moment they see the police, they were having them in their pocket. You see them struggling to remove to wear. Those people, we warn them on the spot and tell them that we let them understand or know the essence of wearing the nose masks and the social distancing. I mean, the protocol to be observed. And then they did understand for that material time. And others too, you see that they don't have it at all. Those that we brought here today, they were not having it. When we arrested them and we were conveying them to the station, the regional headquarters here, where we paraded them, was when we bought an issue to them to wear, because we were conveying them in vehicles we brought to the regional headquarters here. And therefore, perhaps somebody might have been infected, of which that person may not know. So we issued the nose mask to them to wear, let them board in the vehicle. We brought them here, and then we started advising them.
After the arrest, there was a lengthy admonition from the police command, and some of them have opted to be voluntary ambassadors for the COVID-19 fight.
I will never work without nose mask, or even be in the public or any private place without nose mask. Even if I'm even sleeping, I will even use nose mask on that. I will also advise my friends, and also make sure that passengers who join my car, I will also share nose mask to them, and also issue a warning to them.
I have to tell them the COVID-19 is real, so they have to wear the nose mask and give social distance and those things, and listen to the president's directive.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam.
And in Parliament, the NDC caucus says it will seek an annulment of the Council of State election due for Friday, 12 February, if the conduct of the election does not follow the dictates of the Constitution. Now, the group is alleging that government, through the various district assemblies, is breaching the Constitution in its appointment of an electoral college at various assemblies to elect members of Council of State. Speaking to the press in Parliament on Tuesday, Edwin Nilante van der Boy alleged that some district assemblies are appointing 2 people each for the election of Council of State members without recourse to the district assemblies themselves.
If you say we are going to advise ourselves, then we definitely will go to the court and seek an annulment of all those elections, because they will not be properly constituted by law and by the Constitution. Over the years, and according to the constitutional provision, Article 89(1)(c), members of the Council of State are either appointed by the President, and others are elected by an electoral college that is constituted by a nomination of 2 persons from the various district assemblies. In this particular instance, we've had reports from almost all the assemblies throughout the country of attempts by this government to use their own power, authority, arrogate to themselves that desire to choose their own representatives to form the electoral college, instead of constituting an assembly meeting for the assemblies themselves to nominate 2 people to form the electoral college. We've seen situations where the acting MMDCs and the presiding members have constituted themselves as the 2 representatives of the assemblies and sent their names to the various regional coordinated councils to constitute the electoral college to elect members of the Council of State. We are not going to allow this to happen. We want this government to act within the Constitution. We don't want them to continue with the impunity they've exhibited in time past when it comes to issues about local governance.
In response, the NPP caucus insists there is no such abuse of the electoral process in the lead up to the election of Council of State members. Majority Chief Whip Frank Arnold-Dompre spoke to the media.
If there is evidence that the system is being abused, if there is evidence that we are bending the rules or the government is bending the rules, our colleagues have a responsibility to provide such evidence. Ordinarily, we in the majority would not have spoken to this matter, especially where we have a fully constituted government. We would have expected them to deal with this matter. This is a simple matter that can be dealt with. Before I came here, I did a cursory check, a number of districts in my region. And there's no evidence that government is directly involved in handpicking delegates to go and cast their vote. What is true, though, is that there are places where the district chief executive or municipal chief executive, coupled with the presiding members, are being chosen as delegates to go and cast their vote. I do not see anything wrong with that. If the assembly sits and decides that these are people who should represent the assembly in the choice of who represent them at the Council of State, it's a matter of a decision made by the assembly, and it needs to be represented or respected.
And that's how we end the AM News with me, Mapito CBD.
Welcome aboard the news review segment of the AM show. Some very interesting stories, and we're about to dig into them. Mama V, good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Ben.
So what was that you were singing right before we got here? Was that a hymn?
Yeah,
if it was, do share.
Yeah, like, this is one of those hymns that, like, you don't want to do it on a record. You know what I mean? Like, you either sing in your car or you sing in the shower, like in your room where nobody's watching. Yeah. I forgot I was here.
I get it.
You want people to go off this morning, eh?
In the last few days, from time to time, you just burst into songs. I mean, living out literally that expression.
You know, it's been 3 weeks since schools reopened and my children went back to school. But apart from that, I was also looking at how far the Lord has brought me. And I was saying, I am grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for what I don't have. There's a reason I don't have what I think I should have. But I won't know it if I don't begin to reflect. But once I reflect, I am thankful. Because there's a reason you don't have what you think you should be having right now. And you wouldn't know it because you're so fixated on what you think you should be having. But there's a reason. You should be grateful to God that you don't have what you think you should have.
Preach.
Yeah. That's
There's
just
a
my
reason
praise
for
this
every
morning.
season, right?
That's my praise this morning, Ben.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You remind
it's
me
just
of
His grace, His grace, His grace.
I think it's Helen Keller, or is it Corrie ten Boom? She says sometimes one door shuts, but you look so long at that door that you fail to see the one that has opened right in front of you, which is better.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I guess
so that's
turned into a bit of a sermon, hasn't it?
I exalt him.
Eventually it came out. Eventually it came out. Well, good one. I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Daily Dispatch, the Republic Press, and the Business and Financial Times. Mama V.
I will be taking us through the Daily Graphic, the Daily Guide, the Daily Statesman, and the Chronicle newspaper.
Okay, Mama, let's start with you.
All right, so let's begin. I think let's do the Chronicle first. So front page of the Chronicle is this incident, very bizarre. Armed robbers opened fire on woman in labor, ambulance driver also shot. And apparently, they thought that they were the police. So if it was indeed the police, they would have just straight away attacked them.
I mean, someone in an emergency situation. I can't even imagine it. And then now hearing bullets whizzing by and your driver affected. I can't imagine how traumatic
it's one crazy event, but thank God. You see, I say that it's the grace. So this woman, after going through this situation, this was an emergency situation. She was in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. Armed robbers, attack. And right after that incident, she actually gives birth. Can you imagine in a situation like that? Still on the ambulance, and
you can almost see that the event, the trauma, could have precipitated or hastened the birth because all of what was going on in her.
Well, we're told that investigations have commenced in this incident. That's so just how the paper puts it, yesterday a mother in labor coupled with complications was attacked and robbed at Edukrum in the Eastern region. The pregnant woman was being taken to the Koforidua Regional Hospital in the Yellow Krobo constituency ambulance, and they gave the registration number when they were attacked and robbed. The ambulance from the Akuse Government Hospital in the Lower Manya Krobo municipality in the early hours of Thursday, February 4th, the driver of the national ambulance, whose name was not readily known as at the time of filing this report, was shot in the head. Both the mother in labor and the driver were rushed to Tete Kwashi Memorial Hospital after the sad incident. But I listened to somebody from the ambulance service was given further details. So there was there was another person in the vehicle with her who actually helped her deliver her baby before she was rushed to the hospital. Akufo-Addo retained as ECOWAS chair. Our president has gotten the nod to do another 1 year as chairman of the ECOWAS. Yeah. John Kuma advocates for legislation on crowdfunding in Ghana. And then there's a blow-by-blow accounts of today's election petition in Monday's issue, according to the Chronicle. So the advertising ahead. There's some sports stories on the back page of the Chronicle newspaper. Man United welcome Everton to Old Trafford and battled Real Madrid. Is in action this weekend. There's something on Juve and Inter Milan, all on the back page of the Chronicle newspaper. Shall we say good morning to Joseph Akablay?
Good morning,
Good morning,
Joseph.
Mary.
Joseph, so you were not here with us yesterday. Yesterday, I was supposed to take you through how to measure the hydrogen peroxide. Coincidentally, the Ghana Medical Association also issued a statement yesterday. So if you're up for it, I asked you to bring your hydrogen peroxide. Did you bring it? You forgot.
Unfortunately, no.
No.
But okay, so you don't have a peroxide to use as a sample for the calculation?
No, I don't, but I'm asking our producer, Echo, to pull up a measuring cup for me. Okay, so Echo, I want a 10 ml cup. And then when he has it, I'll teach you how to do it.
I see. have you spoken to the medical association?
Oh, I will be quoting Professor Sego, who is a virologist. This is his measurements that I'm going to be giving out. He actually shared it with me on air last week. So I'm just quoting him. This is not from me.
So who is actually performing the measurement?
Mine afterwards.
Oh, he mentioned it on air.
Okay.
I'm only taking Joseph through it again, as prescribed.
You know something that would really work? If we had an expert, one of those like, Sego, come through and actually demonstrate. I think that's the most practical thing we can do, because still, no matter the explanation, look, I've listened to some accounts, and even some of the science people are saying, Charlie, doing the thing, we say if we know the secret.
Okay, so let's listen to what he taught us on the AM show, and then we'll see if this is easy or not. Because people still have the hydrogen peroxide, by the way. So once you have it, you have to know how to use it. So I'll try. Yeah.
Okie doke. So Joseph, I know you have the Daily Guide, the Statesman, and the Dispatch. Maybe you could walk us through the headlines from there, and we'll be back in the studio.
Yes, so I'll start from the front page of the Daily Statesman. It says Akufo-Addo re-elected ECOWAS chair. ALA completes engagement with South Africa's Imara, and that has to do with the Japan royalties agreement. African Legal Associates is the law firm that were the local partners for Imara. So that is on the front page of the Daily Statesman. The back page has some sports story. Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool manager, says team not fresh mentally and physically. And Michael Osei's son scores against Dortmund in German Cup, also on the back page of Daily Statesman. At the front page of the Daily Guide now, Judgment Day for Takrady girls kidnappers. See page 3 for details. And missing, so that has to do with the missing baby saga. 3 petition Yoko, also on the front page of the Daily Guide. And Akufo-Addo elected ECOWAS chairman. ALA Imara seal deal on gold royalties, and 15 MPs get COVID, says Speaker. Page 16 of the Daily Guide, I have that page as well. Very interesting story there, so I'm going to touch on it. Kotoko can win the league. That's the coach claiming. I'm wondering why he's saying can.
Yeah, we can
Kotoko is winning the league. That's the amended headline.
We shall.
How do you disagree?
Can she?
What Kotoko can win the league? What kind of are you taking confidence in that?
That's the amended headline.
What is that? Can we show the back page again? Does it say Kotoko will win? And you're excited Kotoko can win? I mean, all the clubs can win the league.
The headline doesn't represent.
The coach can't even say. See, that's from the coach. Seriously, guys.
You know,
Kotoko can win the league.
Let's do this.
Great
we did this in the Premier League,
win the league.
The English Premier League. Which team do you use? Hearts of Oak, right?
Of course.
Hearts of Oak.
Never say die.
Will your team win the league?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. See,
we shall get. No, it's not about.
That's his faith and confidence, but not when the coach comes to say
your team that is trying to return to winning
the league.
Massa. Okay. Your team that
can win the league. Say can win the league. Say Karela can win the league.
Before Ben comes in, I have the league table with me now. Number 1 is Karela.
League table doesn't show. See, that's why I said Karela can win the league.
Number 10, Anti-Kotoko. Hearts of Oak is number 10.
Ben, where was Manchester United?
You know, but Joe, to be fair, if you look at the point differences there, Charlie, it doesn't matter whether you are second or 10th, really. At this point, as we say in politics, it's too close to call. But
Tell it to him. Tell it to him now.
Anyway, so Joe, do you wrap up with your stack of papers?
Yes, and so just the final parts of, let me do a Daily Dispatch front page and back page quickly. It says race for NPP national chairman, who will Akufo-Addo support, is on the front page of the Daily Dispatch. And 2020 parliamentary results. How Atachia avoided being installed as Ochehene is also in the Daily Dispatch. And how COVID-19 makes men impotent, doctor explains, is another story you should be interested in. And the Daily Dispatch back page has a story about the race for the NPP national chairman. So that is a story on the back page of the Daily Dispatch, man.
Okay, doke. So I'll go to the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Ghana receives 2.4 million doses end of February. This is a story that many of the papers are actually putting forth in the papers. UN COVAX facility confirms President Akufo-Addo gets ECOWAS chair, second term nod. Health analyst urges burying of used nose masks. And this is a very interesting one because the person is an environmental health analyst with the AMA, Madam Florence Kuchi, who has bemoaned the indiscriminate disposal of used nose masks in the country and is advising the public to bury them. She says nose masks, especially the surgical ones, are biodegradable and therefore it's best burying them to avoid endangering the lives of animals and marine species. That in sum, is what the story is about. That's on page 19 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Pretty interesting for me because it appears it is true. We dump these, used face masks indiscriminately, most people, and that could actually endanger the lives of others. So a cue there that we can actually take. There's also this one, nightclub manager arrested for attacking the police. And Mamavi, I found this so curious because this person, so just to read, he attacked a team of police during enforcement of COVID-19 safety protocols, and he tore the uniform of a policeman and damaged the boots of 2 others. That's how, bad it got, how serious it was. And, legally speaking, it's a grave offense to attack an officer of the law, especially one who is there enforcing the law, and you decide to attack the person. I'm making this forceful point here, and I think he ought to be dealt with. Heliwan Bilal is his name.
Oh, sure, and he will be.
When we get to, I also have to forcefully, I made this point because when I get to the Republic Press, you see someone else who is doing the reverse. A policeman slapping a journalist for asking him why he was not wearing a face mask. So interesting times indeed. When you go to the middle spread, Lebanese community offers 39,000 Ghana cedi scholarships to 5 law students. I'm giving this prominence because over the years, the Lebanese community has done quite a lot. The University of Ghana and others, and now the Ghana School of Law. So, important one there. And we doff our hats to the Lebanese community. Legon cities hold Karela in Accra, Blaze Gold Powers, Mediama over Hearts. That's on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper by way of sports.
Let's get into the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, President Akufo-Addo re-elected ECOWAS chair as a second term for our president. We will continue to make huge savings for country. That's audit service. Given that assurance on election petition, Rojo Metal Nono testifies today. But the banner headline, nuisance, billboards clatter, crash, streets, ceremonial routes not spared. What's on the front page is really what you and I see every day around us. Only thing is, the paper is putting a spotlight on that. In the center spread, President must ensure good governance discipline. That's discussants at a forum on public expectations of the second term mandate of President Akufo-Addo. They've urged the president to be firm in reducing corruption and in discipline, and also ensure good governance. Also in the center spread, resolve land dispute for development, Police entry chiefs. Well, Cancer Day, MEC supports cancer care on the back page. 30 Bupe Tamale road crash victims discharged, 17 deceased identified. And the Ghana Infectious Disease Center at the East Municipal Hospital at Kwabenya in Accra has taken delivery of 5,000 disposable medical overalls to improve the safety of the frontline health personnel. Okay. Basically, that's it by way of the headlines that I'm highlighting in the Daily Graphic.
The Republic Press, 13 legacy girls SHS test positive for COVID-19. That's a story I hope to get into, but we keep hearing of more and more of these senior high schools turning up with cases, and some of them apparently attempts made to cover up. In fact, yesterday, I'm not going to mention the name of the school, but I was reliably informed that in one of these schools, a few people had contracted the virus, and warnings were given to the students, because I actually interacted with some of the students who confirmed this, but that they had been told to
be quiet about it.
To be quiet about it, but I know these people, so they told me that and confirmed the number of people have had to leave and all of that, and they've been told to apply, the protocols, which also means that in some of our schools, the application of the mask wearing and all of that is not really happening, and some, officials are looking on until the matter escalates. So we'll get into that story. Ghana-UK trade agreement, British companies begin rejecting Ghanaian imports, and MPs threaten Speaker over COVID-19 report disclosure. Now, the Speaker of Parliament has been saying some of you are simply refusing to do the right thing, and if that persists, we're going to have to name and shame you, and they are resisting this vehemently. These are lawmakers. We saw them doing something else on the day before the presidential inauguration. It was kind of like WWE, but our lawmakers, what exactly is happening? Follow the laid down protocols that you've put together for all of us, and that too is a problem. Akufo-Addo gets ECOWAS nod again. Policeman slaps journalist for asking him why he was not wearing a face mask. When we return, to get into the stories, I'll dig into that. But people withholding the information, a factor for COVID-19 case shoot up. So that is another big one. And that will be it for the Republic Press, basically. It's more COVID. Then the Business and Financial Times, unutilized gas menace to increase. Market opens the year sustaining bullish surge. And behavioral change can easily reverse recent spikes in coronavirus infection and active cases. When you go to, let's just get to the middle spread. It has avocados contain more potassium than bananas, support heart health. Are you aware of the benefits of potassium to your heart? You can check out the details there in the middle spread of the paper. On the back page, pass advertising bill, else ACFTA will take over industry, and then Vodafone comes to the aid of motorcycle accident victim. That's it with the Business and Financial Times.
All right, we'll get into the stories. Joseph, is there any story from your end?
Not from my end, but the ambulance story that you touched on. I listened to the ambulance official yesterday on radio, and he was saying that apparently it's a robbery that was going on at a particular location along the road. And so when they heard a siren of the ambulance coming in, they thought it was the police that was coming in. And so they just started shooting at the ambulance and ended up firing into the head of the ambulance driver. And we are told that out of that shock of the incident, the woman started delivering at that point in time. And I mean, it's really a disturbing story. And the family, they are making the point that the police should hunt down the individuals who engage in this crime. It's very sad and very unfortunate development that an ambulance driver, an emergency service worker who is simply taking someone, assisting to save a life, ends up now battling for his own life. I think it's very unfortunate.
Absolutely.
Right, but Joseph, you were saying there were not many stories you had to share. You have the Daily Dispatch and page 2, how COVID-19 makes men impotent. Doctor explains. You don't want to get into that?
Why do you want me to touch on that story, Ben?
Anyway.
This is the Daily Graphic newspaper, and on page 19, some very important stories in the paper that I just want to touch on. So, election observers, CODEO, they've put out a report, post-election observation report, where they've called on the Ghana Police Service to inform the public about the status of investigations into all election-related violence recorded during the election and in the post-election period. It's been some days now since they put out this report. Police hasn't responded, so I thought, listen, let's highlight again. So this is in line with public accountability, CODEO says. The report summarizes weekly observation reports submitted by observers and covered the period December 22 to January 20. CODEO is continuing with its post-election environment observation and would really share its findings with the public when necessary. But, observer groups should not even be calling on the police. They did a wonderful job by giving us an update, the election task force, in terms of what the situation, they painted the picture for us. But it's been weeks since then and no updates. So CODEO is calling on the police. I guess we all want to know where we are with the investigations. It will be good if the police will respond to that call. Yesterday, there was this continuing conversation about the COVID situation in Parliament, and the Speaker has given a certain directive. Our parliamentary correspondent, not Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, because he is off for a while, but Kweku Asante has stepped into those big shoes, and he's doing a wonderful job so far. Kweku Asante joins us via Zoom. Kweku, there you are. Good morning.
Good morning, Mamadi.
Great. So have you tested? Because apparently reporters are also parts of this whole parliamentary list.
Right. So according to Majority Leader, Chairman Sabonsuma, members of the Parliamentary Press Corps are also supposed to do so, but a couple of administrative and bureaucratic processes has not made that possible. And so we are looking forward to the next few days to see that some of the members of the Parliamentary Press Corps can be able to test. But according to him, members of the Parliamentary Press Corps are also supposed to test. But we are looking forward to the next few days to see how that will pan out.
Okay, great. So take us through what the situation is in terms of the number of cases that Parliament itself has recorded.
Right. So according to the Speaker of Parliament, out of the 275 members of the House, only 227 MPs have tested. So that is 43 members not having tested in Parliament. And so out of those 227 MPs who have tested, 15 tested positive. And that is according to the Speaker of Parliament. And that is and this is because 43 others have still not tested. And then when it comes to the larger parliamentary service staff, a number of a number of them also tested, over 100, and 90 plus of them also tested positive. And so the speaker was at 56, I beg your pardon, out of the 96 or so who had tested. I don't have the figures right in front of me. And so the situation in Parliament is one that the speaker is a bit worried about. And from 2 weeks ago, the speaker has always been complaining about the situation, been saying that some members, although having tested positive, were still attending to business of the House, and was urging all of them to stay out, or he would mention his name. And yesterday, when these names were the names were not mentioned, but when these statistics were given, there were some MPs, including Madame Esla Osu, who raised privacy issues, and they were wondering on what basis the Speaker of Parliament had the list of MPs who are positive. Because according to her, if they had not signed to a consent form to give out their results to the Speaker of Parliament or any institution thereof, then the Noguchi Memorial Institute, which did the test, could not have handed over these tests to the Speaker of Parliament. But the minority, including the Chief Whip, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, cited some portions of the Constitution and says that they are overriding principles of health for all members of Parliament. And so it was important that the Speaker of Parliament knows about this and then informs members thereof. But the Speaker of Parliament says, even though he knows all 15 MPs who have tested positive, he has not mentioned the names to anybody, and he's not doing so now. And so he's just advising these members to stay out for now and isolate with their families.
All right, just before we let you go, Kweku, there's also a new directive. Parliament is sitting twice next week.
Right, so from next week, Parliament is going to sit on Tuesdays and on Thursdays to be able to deal with the surge in the cases that is going on in the House. This is because the Speaker thinks that continuous sittings and members of Parliament coming close to each other all the time could portend some danger, where members would be increasing the situation of COVID in the House. So, like you said, from next week, the House is only going to sit twice, Tuesdays and on Thursdays. But last thing, today, the COVID test is still going to go on in Parliament. The House is going to do a mop-up exercise. And so the Speaker is saying that all 48 MPs who have still not tested, 47 or so, must do so today, or from next week, they will not be allowed inside the chamber.
Okay.
Well, Kweku, before you actually take leave of us, I just want to find out why exactly, I mean, engaging these members of Parliament and all of that, has it come to the fore why exactly some of these MPs are refusing to get tested?
It is not so clear at all. Yesterday, I've been trying to engage with some of these members of Parliament, and most of them will tell you that these are private matters. They don't think they want to talk so much about it, especially those who have tested. And you don't have any mechanism to identify those who have tested from those who have not tested, so that you can go and ask those who have not tested that, why have you not tested? So you ask people and they say, oh, these are private matters. But there are those who say that they've done their tests in private labs and want to submit their results to the Speaker of Parliament. But there are those who hold the view that if we are all using the same common denominator, Noguchi, in Parliament, then all of us must submit ourselves. So you could have tested with a private facility 2 days ago. What if you were infected last night or yesterday? And so you must still submit yourself to the test in Parliament, and then the progress could be made from there.
Now, I know of the general testing that has been required, and even you will have to, do that as well and give proof of what your result is. But how concerned is officialdom at Parliament basically when it comes to this? Because apparently some of them who had not tested, who supposedly were suspected to be positive, actually have been engaging for a while in the business of the House, haven't they?
Right. And so members of Parliament themselves, some of them are very worried. And I remember when the Speaker of Parliament mentioned on the floor that some members had tested positive but were still attending to the business of the House. Some of them shouted, hey, they wanted the names mentioned. And so some of them are very worried. And yesterday, when the Speaker mentioned on the floor that 15 of them had tested positive and they should isolate, one of them just did an ad-lib and said that, hey, if you don't take it, there'll be a lot of by-elections this year. And so they are quite worried and they want the situation to be taken under control. But you can still not wrap your head around why some critical decisions are not being taken and people are being urged to stay out, and that if you come, we will not let. I mean, one would have expected that a lot of critical issues would have been put in place and say that once you have tested positive, don't come around. But it seems like there's a lot of urging, a lot of advice to all these members who have tested positive so far. And there are those, like Dambuchi, for instance, MP for Cray, who is saying that there must be continuous testing for members of parliament. Because you could have tested yesterday, like I alluded to earlier, and test positive tomorrow. And so there must be continuous tests, as we've seen in elsewhere, like US in Congress.
Okay, all right, Kweku. We will let you be. When you take the test, share the result, because that's what I've been trying to find out from MPs. And thankfully, the 2 MPs I engaged yesterday publicly shared their test results. Kweku Asante is our parliamentary correspondent. Joseph Akable is our court correspondent. Joseph Rojo Metal Nunu will be testifying today. Very unexpected witness testifying for the petitioner in the 2020 election, after, I guess, the in-camera hearing on Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, yes. Yeah, so what should we be expecting? Will this be an in-camera testimony?
It is my understanding that it's supposed to be public, in that the request that was made about the discussion, that was what he wanted to have the discussion in camera. And so as far as I am aware, it's supposed to be a public hearing, except that we are told that it may take a different form from what we have seen so far, including perhaps the use of technology. But I mean, those are details that once we get over the Supreme Court premises, we will see for ourselves how the setup has been done inside the courtroom. But some very interesting claims in his witness statement, including saying that he's been at the EC strong room since 1992, and also makes the point that he was misled into signing the sheets coming from some of the regions, because he was told that once his agents at that level have signed, the only option is for them to go to court. And then he makes reference to the EC chairperson, telling them that they should go and confer with Mr. Mahama. And so that's the same claim that was made by Dr. Michael Pesa-White. And so the cross-examination is this morning, Marvin.
I know that we have a full-blown conversation on this issue, so we'll leave it here for now. Ben, any other issues?
Well, a policeman slaps journalist for asking him why he's not wearing a face mask. That's actually in the Republic Press. And a journalist with Obromankoma FM in the Mankasim in the Central Region had the shock of his life after he was repeatedly slapped by a police officer for asking the latter why he was not wearing a face mask. The police officer, named Corporal Say, was said to have been on patrol duty with his colleagues enforcing COVID-19 protocols, which include the wearing of a face mask. The victim, Daniel Mensah, in an interview with Kasapai FM, that is Yao Bwajan, said his motivation for questioning the policeman was to get him to lead by example by wearing a face mask. He said immediately he asked the police officer why he was not wearing a mask. He, that is the policeman, slapped him 3 times, causing his wedding ring to fall down, which got missing in the process. It goes on, but how bad can it get? On the one hand, we're talking about this nightclub owner assaulting police officers, which is a dastardly act. But in this respect, we are talking of an enforcer of the law, an agent of the law, slapping somebody for asking him what the law says we should do, wear a face mask. It doesn't get any worse than this.
This is real, huh?
It doesn't get any worse. And you remember some time back we were talking about this enforcement bay, you were mentioning the police, and I was telling you, how many of them do you actually see? Maybe now it's changing because of the protocols, but I see a lot of them without face masks. A lot of them. So very sad one there. And this bit about people withholding information, a factor for COVID-19 case shoot-ups. The last time I went into the Malata market, I just realized that because of stigma and because of certain things, people, even when they really feel it could be this, some are living in, the bliss of ignorance. Others, they don't want to know. Let's assume it is malaria or something. And when it comes to other people too, when it comes to contact tracing and you ask them for information, they are not willing to give out because they think it's going to inconvenience these people, and the people don't have it. I don't really think they do. So it's creating a real mess. I'll wrap up since it's all COVID-19. 13 legacy girls SHS test positive for COVID-19. And according to the Africa Education Watch, it has taken notice of the letter from legacy girls informing parents that 13 students have tested positive for COVID-19. And it says, we wish the affected students a speedy recovery and call on the Ghana Health Service to investigate why no complaint was made by the CHIS at the GHS District COVID-19 Center. So even when it comes to the system proper and how to handle these, our students in schools, and now we're hearing of many of them going down with COVID-19, it is a problem. Big one.
We will expand on this later on here on the show when we talk about this matter with some schools recording cases and whether or not they did go through the appropriate protocols set. Did they report to the regional hospitals or the clinics that they are linked to? Remember, as part of the guidelines, every school is linked to a hospital, a clinic, a regional facility, something of a sort. So did something go wrong with these schools that have recorded cases? I guess we didn't think schools would not record cases, right? But it's when it happens, the actions that you take, that's what gives people confidence or not. So we will talk about this matter. I think we have a bit of time. We can do myjoyonline.com just to share the headlines on our page before we wrap up, make way for sports. Unfortunately, Joseph is gone. I am supposed to be teaching him how to dilute the hydrogen peroxide, but he's gone. So I don't know whether to still take us through or not. Do we have the cup? Okay, so this is 10 ml. And let me just say that I am quoting Professor Kwame Sego, who was on the AM show, and one of the questions I asked was, how do you do it right? So 1 portion, 5, all of that didn't work for me. I wanted to know the specifics. So here's the cup. If you do the 10 ml of the hydrogen peroxide, this is the regular one on the market, which he describes as having 6, what's the term? 6%?
6%, he said.
Yes, 6% is the regular one. So if you buy Checo, I'm not saying any other hydrogen peroxide, because it has to be 6. That's the formula that he taught us. So if you do 10 ml of the hydrogen peroxide, you do 50 ml. So you keep measuring 50 of this cap. That's how you dilute it.
Let's get this
before you
clearly.
gaggle.
He spoke of the 10 ml, so that would be what? Did you mean 5 ml or 50? So it's 5 portions of water versus this portion, the 10 ml
exactly
of hydrogen peroxide.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So 1 cup of the hydrogen peroxide, and then how 5 would make 50, right?
So the 10 ml
Yes.
Bit that was just there, the vessel. If you take 10 ml of that with hydrogen peroxide, you need to do 10 ml, 10 ml, 10 ml, 5 times
exactly.
of water to dilute
And the water must be lukewarm. Lukewarm, 5 portions of the cup that you see with 1 portion of the hydrogen peroxide. Yes. You have it already. You've gone to grab it in the shops. So I guess it's just right that we teach you how to do it right. But it's got to be the 6% one. If you have 10 or 3, I don't know the measurement for that. I'm sorry.
When it's 3%, you could halve these. But
anyway, I don't know. But
this has turned all of us into scientists.
That's our cases for now as it stands today. If you look at the Ghana Health Service website, this is how we're looking at. We've got the 6,000 marks with active cases. We're still hovering the 600, 700 new cases per day. It's gotten critical, and you have to do the basic things to protect yourself and protect your families. Our children are still in school, and we have to do the right thing. For yourself and for others, we have to take that responsibility. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not. But this is myjoyonline.com, Ben.
Well, let's do the stories there. I was misled by EC officials to sign some collation sheets, Metal Nunu tells Supreme Court. There's also election petition. Metal Nunu testifies for Mahama cross-examination slated for today. COVID-19, 7 more dead. Ghana's active cases cross 6,000 mark. Shut down Parliament. APAC advises as 15 MPs contract COVID-19. and 40 students at Akosombo test positive for COVID-19. We also have post-COVID-19 complications killing many who have recovered. Rich Hospital medical doctor. FDA has not approved hydrogen peroxide as COVID-19 treatment. That's an interesting one, the response of the GMA there. And then David Amano bids farewell to the BBC after 20 years.
Yeah.
That one got me, you know.
I wanted to cry. I love his voice, love his presentation. All right, this is where we have to end the review. But there's plenty more still to come here on our show. We've got sports coming up right after this.
Let's do some boxing now, where a former trainer of Richard Comey, Carl Loco, says he has no regret parting ways with the boxer despite, building him to become a world title competitor. According to him, he takes solace in the fact that he contributed to making him the boxer that he is.
The two have worked together since Richard was 13 until they parted company in 2017. In 2016, Carl Loco was at the corner when Richard Comey lost back-to-back fights against Robert Easter Jr. in a world title fight and Denis Shafikov in a world title eliminator. Since March 2017, the two have not worked together. Carl Loco, despite building Richard Comey to become a world title competitor, does not regret going separate ways.
I don't regret working with Richard Comey. I will still use him to advise or to guide the upcoming ones or the other boxers I'm training, because human beings have some better lives, and we have to always talk about that. So the great side and the good side and everything I know about him and the way I was going around with him and everything, I don't regret. I don't regret him. I don't regret by training Richard Comey. And
well, before we go, let's just quickly remind you of what we do have in terms of sports ahead of a big month in football, especially. We've already seen Spurs-Chelsea on 4th February. Up next is Liverpool-City on 7th. And then Juventus play Inter on 9th. And then the Club World Cup final, which possibly could see Al Ahly in that final. And then the semi-final against Bayern Munich. Manchester City play Jose Mourinho's Spurs on 13th February. Kotoko play against Algerian side Sétif in the Confederations Cup. And then Barcelona PSG in the Champions League. And also, we do have the Merseyside derby 3 days after that. And Sétif Kotoko play their return leg. And then we have Atletico Madrid Chelsea in the Champions League. And right after that, Thomas Tuchel's side conclude February by hosting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Manchester United. So do well to mark your calendars, because February does promise to be an indeed incredible month of football in action. But that's how we'll be wrapping up the sports here. My name is Oreko Wampofo, and the AM show continues right after this.
Hello. So we've gone back to the days when there were lots of restrictions, when we couldn't have normal funerals in Ghana, where people rather left the dead in the morgue in the hope that the restrictions would be lifted so they could have a befitting burial for their loved ones. We're back to those days. What's the situation now today? Are the churches clear in terms of what they can do and what they cannot do? Since private funerals or private burials have been limited to 25, but is there a clear understanding in terms of the burial service itself? Let's speak to Most Reverend Dr. Paul K. Boafo. He's chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana. And then also, Madam Genevieve Cornelius is MD Transitions. I want to say good morning to you both. Thank you so much for joining me here on the AM Show.
Hi, good morning, Mama B.
Yes, hi.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you too. Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, I want to start with you.
Right.
Are we back to the previous days when we had the restrictions? I remember when I visited your church, and with the long seats, you still had just 2 people. What's the structure today?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers and to all of you. Yeah, we are back, but not back as it was in the opening times when we were easing the restrictions. We are still observing the social distancing of 4 or 5 people on the pew, which could have taken 10 people. That one, we are still observing it. The hand washing and the number of people is still the same. But the other issue has to do with the funerals, because later we could bring in as many mourners that could be taken by the church. But now it's been restricted. That's one difference that we have there. And then per what the president said, weddings are also banned, but we are seeking clarification on those issues.
Okay, which means that even at the level of the Christian Council, you're still not very clear. The information minister designate did say that the president had not banned marriages, except that you couldn't do the normal reception that we will do after the church ceremony. Is that not the understanding that you also have?
Yes, we have that understanding. But yesterday, we had a meeting, and some suggestions were coming that the security are not aware of what the minister designate was saying. And so we needed to further go to him to either write officially to them so that they will also be aware that, in fact, weddings and funeral services are not banned. Because for us, our understanding was that if it's a funeral where you have the corpse, then you have what we call private burial of 25 mourners. And if they come in, then after that they go to the cemetery, and that is it. That was our understanding. And then the weddings as banned meant that we could not have it at all. But the minister is saying that, well, it is not banned. You can have it as part of yourself, but the reception and other things that come after the marriage rites is what has been banned. And so we are still seeking clarification today, so that those who have even planned their weddings tomorrow and Sunday can go ahead.
Okay, the only issue, Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, is the fact that today is Friday, so people are still confused, not knowing whether to still call off the wedding or postpone the funeral service. So is it the minister designate that you're writing to in terms of the presidency, or this is the police to remind them of what the minister had said?
In fact, the police or the security, we are seeking clarification with the police as well as the minister. If the minister can inform them that this is the explanation or this is the details of what the president said, then we can go ahead and have these weddings. Okay. But with the funerals, we believe that with the 25, which is private, that one can go ahead. But the restriction is to do with the wedding. Can we have it as part of the service, which we believe can be done?
Okay. Have you had Have you had the security agencies stopping some of the churches from carrying out some of these activities?
Not as yet, because it was only last Sunday, and weddings normally will come on Saturday or Sundays. And so we are looking forward to tomorrow and Sunday. And I know that some weddings have been fixed for tomorrow and Sunday, and that's why we also want to expedite the procedure so that those who have planned ahead cannot fail, so that they could have it as part of the church service and then avoid the reception and other things that come with it.
Okay. Let me bring Genevieve in. Genevieve manages one of Ghana's busiest, if you like, funeral service organizers. She's managing director of transitions. Genevieve, good morning to you again. I remember the earlier lockdown, people kept dead bodies in the morgues, hoping that the restrictions will be lifted so we can do in Ghana a befitting funeral service for the dead. What's the situation with the current announcements?
Okay, Mama V, good morning to you and good morning to your cherished listeners. Thank you. The situation as it is now, we are in the early days yet, but it mirrors what happened late last year when the government restrictions were imposed. The normal reaction you get is people would immediately reschedule their funerals or cancel it altogether onto unknown date, and that had a direct impact on the cold room, meaning that you have the morgue capacity increasing. So basically, that is the situation as we are in. Immediately, we have seen some families coming in and requesting for a postponement, praying that the government will ease down the restrictions with time. And others are also in a confused state, not knowing what to do, either to go ahead with the funeral or to cancel it altogether.
Okay.
So that is the current situation.
After the president's address on Sunday, we had the Minister of Information designate give further clarity to the directive. What's your own understanding and what's your arrangements?
Thank you, Mama V. So basically, when the first announcement of 25 came in, we immediately prepared for the earlier lockdown situation where only 25 mourners could be in our chapel, okay, to have the service.
Hello, Genevieve? Okay, unfortunately, I think that's just our connection has just been disconnected. We'll try and raise Genevieve Cornelius, MD Transitions, back so we can move on with the conversation. But I still have Most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, with me. Rev, so by what time would we be clear with the way forward? Since Saturday is just some hours, and then we will get into Saturday. It will probably be too late for people to reschedule their events. All right, unfortunately, I've also lost Most Reverend Dr. Paul K. Boafo, Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana. So we're going to raise our two guests back so we can finish this conversation. It is important that we understand where we are, what the way forward is. We will take a breather. We will be back to continue this conversation. Stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. Let's continue with the conversation that we started a while ago. Most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, Chairman, Christian Council of Ghana, is with us. Genevieve Cornelius is with Enterprise Funeral Services Transitions. She's Managing Director. Before we go, we went off, Genevieve. You were explaining your understanding of this new directive. Hello, Genevieve. Hello, Genevieve. Reverend, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we would work on Genevieve's connection. So, Rev, I think the last question I put to you, and I see that, Genevieve, are you nodding? Are you back with me? Okay,
not yet.
Not yet, okay. So, Rev, wouldn't it be too late, perhaps, for people to make different arrangements if things are not clearer?
It might be late. In fact, for this week, it might be late. But we'll try as much as possible to work on it. And if the understanding I'm even getting from Genevieve, what arrangement they are doing at transition, it means that we can increase the number per the social distancing seating. If that is allowed, and we can take the minister's words, then the number can move from 25 to number of mourners who will be there. That one, we can work on it today. By the close of day, this one should be done, right? And then the weddings as well. It could be part of the service, but we'll make sure that no receptions, no gatherings, nothing is made after the marriage rite in the church. The couple should go home or continue onto their honeymoon somewhere, and that is it.
Okay.
That's what we will be doing.
Okay. All right. Genevieve, I think your sound is back, so we can hear you explain further.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Reverend, by what time should we expect that firm statement from the Christian Council? Because the churches that come under you, some of them are still not clear what they can do tomorrow, Saturday.
Right. Yeah, but by noon we should be out. And then get things clearer for our people.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, Most Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, thank you very much. Unless you want to stay and listen to the details as Genevieve will share. Genevieve, hopefully we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back on, Mama V.
Okay, great.
All right. Okay. Then I will stay and listen to Genevieve after that.
Yes, Rev. Thank you. Genevieve, please continue. You were explaining the directive.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mama V. So as I mentioned, currently we are able to do a capacity of about 100, adhering to the new protocol directive that the minister gave, maintaining the distance of 1 meter between mourners seated. And so we are able to do the service. Transition, we are able to live stream the service. So those that are unable to be at the service physically are able to join both nationally and internationally, globally. And so that is where we are. We are also not allowing receptions to be done. So there are no reception whatsoever. We adhere to all the protocols of face masks, hand washing, sanitizers, checking the temperature before you enter. And immediately the service is over, we have employed security to disperse mourners within the shortest period of time.
Okay.
To avoid any sitting and holding conferences.
Okay. How are people responding to the changes? Are we still used to, not doing necessarily the so-called befitting burial for the dead?
Thank you, Mama V. I believe funerals in Ghana have changed over the past few years since we've been on the market. Traditionally, people kind of had an understanding that befitting burial, moreover, is what we call the after party of the funeral. Eventually, we've been able to move a segment of the market to understand that befitting burial is actually the preparation and the memorial service to the actual lowering of our loved ones into the grave. And so we have been able to take that whole element of offering the befitting burial. Befitting burial is not necessarily the after party, but the opportunity for the client to go through the whole process stress-free, okay? Organizing the setup for your loved one to be celebrated in the solemnful and dignified way. And that is what transition is all about. And I believe with time, we have been able to get people to buy into that concept. So last year when the ban was restricted, the initial reaction was for people to cancel or postpone. But eventually when people got idea of our private burial package, there was a huge take-up of that package because people came to understand that the befitting burial is not necessarily the after party, but the dignified process of handling the whole arrangement process to the actual memorial day, the way it's organized, professionally dignified and stress-free. And so I think with time, even now, as I told you before, yesterday we did organize a dignified funeral for a loved one, and there was no reception.
All right,
so I think the take-up will pick up from there.
Okay, but you still had people calling you to say, hold on to the ceremony because of the restrictions imposed now.
Yes, we still have a small segment of people still doing that. We have received a couple of alerts and letters from family saying that they want to actually hold on until they are able to solve some family issues as to who could be there and who can't be there. So that is still happening.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, Genevieve, we'll have to leave it here. Most Reverend Dr. Paul K. Boafo, Chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana. After listening to Genevieve, I don't know if there's anything that you want to share before we let you go.
Yes, Mama V, I would use this opportunity to say that even for families who would want to organize services in their churches, like Reverend said, we are working with the churches to still be able to organize those befitting burials for them at their own convenience in their churches, even if you don't want to do it at transition. So you can count on us and call us and we'll guide you through. We know we are in a stressful moment. Don't go through the stress alone. Speak to us and we'll help you out.
I should be giving you an invoice for what you said because the question was directed at Reverend.
I like that. I like that, yes. Yeah, I think we have also taken a cue from Genevieve, and Christian Council or the Christian body would also take a cue and address the situation as we find it now.
Okay.
Because people are going through stress and we don't want to increase the stress for them. We want to ease it for all of us. Yes, so thank you very much for this submission.
Thank you very much, Reverend. And, you know, it was on the back of the fact that even some church pastors were not so clear what the way forward. That's why we called on you. But thank you for responding to the call every time. Chairman, Christian Council of Ghana, Most Reverend Dr. Paul K. Boafo. And, of course, to you, Genevieve. Yes, sir. Genevieve Cornelius, thank you so much as well for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Mama V.
All right, great.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so that's where we are with this matter. Still to come, we're talking about the election petition 2020. New developments late afternoon yesterday. There's a third witness that will be called from the side of the petitioner. Rojo Metal Nodo will be, well, we don't know how, but he'll be giving testimony today. Benjamin Akakpo will bring you that conversation. We're also talking about those schools that have recorded cases in COVID-19, whether or not we're okay. Are we in a good place? There are parents who, after hearing that report, they're a bit unsettled. So we will have a conversation on that. The body that inspects, goes around to check with the Ghana Education Service, is making a follow-up on those schools whose names have come up in the news, and we'll be touching base with them to see what the latest update is here on the AM show. Please do stay with us.
Welcome back on the AM show. And a private school in Akosombo is actually in the Esodraman district of the Eastern region, has recorded 42 positive COVID-19 cases out of a total of 500 samples taken. Health officials say all the students are asymptomatic and are responding to treatment. Data available indicates that the Eastern region recorded some 322 confirmed cases, 152 with 9 deaths between the 1st and the 2nd of February 2021. The Eastern Regional Capital, Koforidua, has the most cases with 123 confirmed cases, followed by Esojaman with 70 and Birim Central with 20. Ekuafem South and Denchambor district have 16 cases each, with the other districts having less than 10 cases. Now, the regional director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Winfred Ofosu, disclosed that most of the cases are coming from within the communities.
So far for the 2021, we've recorded 322 cases as at 2nd February. And the total active cases that we have now is 158. Okay. We have also recorded 9 deaths. So those are the best statistics for Eastern region.
For now. So this afternoon, we're learning that a school in the region has recorded 40 cases. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, there's a school in Asojama who has recorded a number of cases. They've recorded 42 cases, but there are still some results which are pending. But most of them are asymptomatic, and currently they are at isolation in the school. They are all in good condition.
42 cases, you said?
Yes.
How did we find this out? Was there some kind of mass testing in the area or
yes,
was this...
it was a mass testing that was done. One person had symptoms and was tested and was positive. So they decided to screen the entire school, and they tested over 500 students. So that's how come we had that number. And most of them didn't have any symptoms. They were asymptomatic. But because the screening was done, they were picked out. That's why we have such
Which school is this?
I have to try and get it for you.
Well, I mean, if there's a reason why authorities do not want to mention the name of the school, because we've been trying to get this. If there's a reason, we can take an explanation, I think.
No, I have to get the name of the school for you. I mean, it's in the Asojama district.
So that was my colleague Gifty Ando-Apia there interacting, getting some details with regard to those latest developments when it comes to the COVID-19 numbers. We have heard of the Eastern region, Akosombo, and some schools with, that have infections in there. We've also heard of the Legacy Girls SHS as well. But let's cross over to some of the regions, find out what exactly the picture is in these schools. We have Maxwell Kudeko, who is our Eastern Regional Correspondent. Maxwell, what can you tell us again about the Eastern region? These developments we hear from Akosombo, very worrying. What is the latest that you can share with us on that development?
Good morning. Health authorities say that they are on top of the issue. Now, the 40 students who tested positive for COVID, we are told have been isolated from the many. And what happened was that one of the students fell ill. One of the students fell ill, sorry, and then they ran several tests, including COVID. So it was detected that the student had contracted COVID-19. So they did an enhanced contact tracing at the school. 500 samples were taken, and out of the 500, 4 of the students tested positive to COVID. Now, as I mentioned, they have isolated the students who tested positive. Parents of the students have been contacted. A few of the parents took to the school yesterday wanting to pick their kids to the house. But the health authority says that because the situation doesn't allow for mass gathering, and the fact that those who have tested positive needed to self-isolate for a period, it is not proper to allow the kids or the parents to take their wards away. So they are still being under surveillance. They are taking their drugs. Now, the director of Ghana Health Service in the Eastern region tells us that all the students who tested positive in Akosombo are asymptomatic. So it's very difficult to determine by mere coming into contact with these students they have COVID. So that is the one danger confronted with all of us with respect to the COVID issue. So the 40 students are they are under isolation. The authorities are ensuring that they take their drugs, and then also they don't miss classes. Now, it is not Akosombo that's the only area or community that has recorded COVID-19 positive cases in the region. There is one school also in the Lower Menya district in Akosombo. They also have a very rigorous testing regime. So every 2 weeks, we are told that they run tests on the students. So just last week, they picked sample of 50 of the students, and then the first batch of the result that came indicated that 13 out of the 50 samples they took from the school in Akusi tested positive. Now, there's been official communication to the parents, assuring them that they are, even though the case have tested positive, they are doing very well, they are responding to treatment. All of them are also asymptomatic. They have been isolated from the masses. We are told that the school has a virtual platform where they learn. So those who are under isolation have the opportunity to join classes via Zoom and other learning management system, just so that they will not be left out from the school. Now, just as we indicated, the Eastern region is growing in numbers with respect to COVID-19 cases. Now, between January 1st to February 2nd, the Regional Health Directorate indicates that about 322 confirmed cases have been recorded in the region. Out of these 322 confirmed cases, we have recorded 9 deaths within this period. In a month, 9 people have lost their life as a result of the COVID-19. Now, there is something they call active cases. Active cases indicate that people who are still with the virus, out of the 322, the region still have about 158 active cases in the region. Now, Koforidua, as the Eastern Regional Capital, appears to be the leader of the League of Districts with COVID high cases of prevalence in the region. The New Gabin, that is the Koforidua municipality, has active cases of 123. They have confirmed cases of 123. Most of these cases, we are told, are coming from the community. So somebody comes from home, he close from work, he says, "Oh, I'm not feeling well, let me go to the hospital." He goes, they run several checks, and it is detected that the fellow or the patients have COVID-19. So most of these cases, according to the doctors, are coming from the community. Eshiojaman, where the 40 students tested positive, is the second hit district in the Eastern region with 70 cases. Now, out of these 70 cases, 40 are coming from the private school in the Akosombo, and the rest of the numbers are coming from Atimpoku, Akrade, and a few busy areas within the region. Now, the Brim Central is the third hit with 20 cases, followed by Kriapem South and then Chambo with 16 cases respectively. We are told the other regions have less than 10 cases in their various localities. So the prevalence rate is growing steadily in the region. Now, the Regional Director of Ghana Health Service, Dr. Winfred Ufosu, tells us that in all these cases, especially in the schools, the students who tested positive proved to be asymptomatic. So it is very difficult to determine or say by mere coming into contact with these people that, oh, this guy has COVID-19. So the advice is that we adhere religiously to the COVID protocols. We ensure that we wear our masks, we avoid public places. Dr. Winfred is advising that we desist from us eating. Like, we have come to work, it is lunch time, so can we go and get some food together? You'll find 2 or 3 people eating in a bowl. He said it is not too advisable to continue eating communally. So the virus is getting root in the region.
So based on what you've just told me, Maxwell, is that to say there is a step up, by, I'm thinking, the authorities, the health authorities, as well as the school authorities, to ensure that there is compliance to these protocols, especially as the numbers in the region seems to be rising so much. Have you seen any step up in terms of compliance, in terms of the authorities following up to ensure people are doing the right thing, both in the region generally and in the schools?
Look, the issue of compliance is a very big one that I think stakeholders must look at it carefully. Most of the school compliance is a big problem, especially among the basic schools. Now, you meet a number of these children by the roadside, especially the day schools, and then these kids walk about without nose masks. The last time, I think on Monday, I drove from Kofodia to Asistoa, and along the road, I met a lot of many schools on the road, and during break time, these kids come together. Sometimes one will have to borrow nose mask from the other. They mingle together, they eat together. So compliance generally is a big problem. Some of the secondary schools have regimes to ensure that the students wear masks before they get to the classrooms. But what happens at the dormitory is a story that is not worth telling. So compliance generally, especially in the public schools, is a matter that needs to be looked at secondly to ensure that we can...
Maxwell, now we hear that on the individual level, sometimes people are not willing to admit that they have contracted the virus or even aid in contact tracing because of the inconveniences involved. On the school level too, we hear that some schools are not owning up for fear of some backlash. They are not stating clearly that some of their students have contracted the virus. Is that any information you're getting wind of in the Eastern region as well?
Exactly the case. So even the nearest and as it were, the immediate example is the school in Akosomo that we are talking about. Now, health authorities are finding it difficult to mention the name of the school. Now, school authorities are also finding it difficult to open up to the media. So nobody knows whether they are doing so as a result or because of the stigma attached to COVID-19. And it appears people are trying to suppress information with respect to schools or some schools that have tested positive. So it's a general thing that is happening across board. And it is very dangerous in a sense that if we do not know and take care of ourselves, it may end up escalating the issue. So it appears that there's a deliberate attempt by authorities to, as it were, prevent or suppress information with regards to, which institution has which numbers and order. We are told that some health personnel who are at the front line have also contracted have also tested positive now, but it is difficult for health authorities to tell us that these cases are coming from this hospital. Maybe this number of deaths is coming from this area. So it's a general problem.
Max, before you let go of us, a very quick one. What is the process when it comes to disinfestation or disinfection of some of these schools where there have been cases? What can you share with us on that?
Prior to the opening of schools, they did mass disinfection in most of the public schools. But we are not aware of any current disinfection exercise in some of these schools that we have recorded cases. What we have been told is that the students who have tested positive have been asked to self-isolate. But we don't have record of proper disinfection in some of these schools that we are hearing have some of this number of cases.
Maxwell Kudeko is our Eastern Regional Correspondent. Thank you very much for sharing those details with us. But let's also interact with Professor Alfred Yorson, who is Head Community Health with the University of Ghana Medical School. Professor Yorson, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure indeed, but these are not ordinary times and we find ourselves in a bit of a fix. Here we are again. We've reopened schools and we're getting some numbers pouring forth who are turning up positive for COVID-19. I'm sure, Prof, that there were expectations that this could happen Is it too soon, and is it too grave looking at the numbers?
Realistically, we are very much aware of the difficulties. As you said, these are not ordinary times. And any event, activity that brings people together, as you said, in schools, right from KG, primary, secondary, junior high, senior high, their risk is high. And therefore, it is not unexpected, because with the current trend, and when you conduct community surveys, you get a lot of people being positive. The same way when you do it in the school, it's likely we're going to have this. What is important, really, is how we are able to handle this. We were made aware that schools have been linked to health facilities who will then take quick action in managing these. That is what we will expect the authorities in charge to do, so that once we get these communications, action needs to be taken immediately. I heard the last bit of some of the things your correspondent was saying, and it's about communication, information sharing, and being candid with things. At this time, we need candor. We need to be open and transparent. We need to get the information across. There is no gain in hiding things only for it to blow up in our face. So we, as health workers, we as media, government institutions, all the people who are responsible, we need to be open and share information. There is nothing to gain in hiding anything. And also to reduce anxiety, public panic, and all that, we need to ensure that we assure parents, guardians, stakeholders that things are under control, that this is the case, this is true, but we are managing it. The health workers are involved. But if we don't do that, it creates a lot of panic for parents, for school authorities, and things like that. That's where I think the challenge is. So it's the communication aspect and the, if I would say, alacrity or the urgency with which the health authorities who have been linked to these schools take up the issues and deal with it. That will be critical going forward.
And I totally
cannot isolate the schools from what is happening in the general community and the picture of Ghana. Yeah.
I am in total agreement with you. Of course, more education needed, even to let people not stigmatize others. But is it any relief, so to speak, that in most of these cases, for example, like we heard in Akosombo, one school with 42 cases, that most, if not all of them, are asymptomatic? Is that any relief? From the medical angle, what is the breakdown of that? Is it any positivity that a lot of these cases are asymptomatic?
It is the age group we are dealing with. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have gotten to know that children and those younger than 18 years, most or a high proportion of them may have the condition or may harbor the virus, but they may not show overt signs and symptoms. However, the danger is that they act as a source of the infection and transmit. So for those in the boarding schools or who are in an enclosed environment, per se, that they are not interacting with the community directly, that is relatively easier to manage. But the challenge is those who come from home, go to school every day. That is where the difficulty is. These children may not show overt signs, but they come home, they interact with parents, guardians, they are transported to school. That's challenging. So even though the children themselves may not be showing signs and having critical or severe forms of the disease, because they may transmit the infection to other groups in the population, that's where the challenge is. So whatever seriousness we need to attach, we shouldn't be, as it were, comfortable that, oh, these children are not having severe illness, so that is okay. It's never okay. we need to make sure that they are not acting as source of infection for others. And with this current way, we are not very certain as to how it will play out long term in children as well. So we need to be careful. Whatever measures we need to take to ensure that the children are safe.
Now, referencing again this school in Akosombo where one person was tested, turned out positive, and then 41 others, so making 42, actually turned out positive. In such instances, what do you feel would be the best measure? There could be disinfestation or disinfection, or should we, when we get to know such institutions and the numbers are large like we're seeing now, should we consider shutting down?
It is always a possible measure. But as I said, once they are in a confined space that we can manage, it is better we put in measures, probably create quarantine or isolation areas. We convert some of the dormitories to some of these so that these students who have been exposed will not have direct interaction with others as we continue to use other means of teaching them, using online methods, things like that, not necessarily shutting down the school immediately. We need to look at all the options. When the health authorities are regularly checking up on these students, monitoring their signs and symptoms, the effective measure is to prevent the interaction and the spread among other members of the school who are not infected. So we need to take these measures. As we said, whatever measures once we know there is an outbreak in a particular dormitory, yes, it is not out of place to fumigate and ensure that those who are not infected are separated from those who are immediately and quickly so that we are able to manage this. If we close down the school, these children are going to go back into the community. How effective will the management in the homes and the community level be? So for those in boarding houses in areas like that, typically what we say in disease control is you contain the disease at the source of infection. You don't want to spread it all. So once we are able to identify the source, we need to be able to manage it until such a time that we feel that it's getting out of, and that if we remove the others who are not infected, it will be of benefit. We can do that. But for now, I think we should insist on the measures that will protect the others who are not infected from those who have been infected, and we give them the best medical care, the attention, the follow-up they need so that they can remain in school, and we use other means of keeping them if at all possible.
Now, you are with the health setup, not the educational setup, but I want to run this by you. What do you feel should be our approach when it comes to some of these institutions that are, so to speak, hiding the figures? We have heard of some of these institutions who get to know that some of their students indeed have contracted the virus, and they try to quietly let go of them and deal with the issue without letting the health system, the educational setup, become aware of the situation. In such instances, what do you feel should be done, maybe by way of punitive measures?
Yes, you see, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Director General of the Ghana Education Service have been working hand in hand. Sometimes they appear in your studio, for example. So the picture they want to portray out there is that there should be collaboration between the two, especially Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ghana Education Service, Ghana Health Service. So there is nothing to gain if two authorities try to hide information for those who need to take action regarding the health of the people or students in their school. And that is unfair, and that should come with sanctions, because there have been clear protocols that have been put in place for authorities to link up with the health facilities that they have been assigned to. So we shouldn't delay and try to hide it. Otherwise, as you rightly said, if the numbers become uncontainable, then rather trying to hide the information, now everything goes awry, and then we need to shut down the school. And I don't think school authorities will want that. Much as we want the safety of our children, we will also not like that. And we want that they really there should be that immediate declaration and to the health authority, because both institutions can then work hand in hand and see how best we can get the school running and also get the safety and health of our children running as well.
Now, let's look at a bit of the general level and talk about the entirety of that region, the eastern region. Since January the 1st, the start of the year, to February the 2nd, we've seen some 322 cases, 152 of those being active cases, and with 9 deaths. Looking at the escalation of the virus in that region and looking at the different strains now that we have to deal with, what would be your take on the eastern region, the developments there, and what really ought to be done now to forestall what you are talking about, the situation where we cannot even deal with the virus anymore?
Yes. The enforcement of the general measures that have been put in place will be key. And sometimes we may need some targeted approach. I have always said we should sometimes decentralize the enforcement of these measures so that district assemblies, regional authorities can take effective measures. Once you know your region, which hitherto have not been severely hit, is now that it means things are not going well, and we need to insist. We start from the marketplaces, we start from the public transport system. These are things we need to ensure that now it has to be put in place. And also, any activity that will bring a lot of people together without they observing the measures, we should insist on that. So I will really suggest that we can start with the market, we can start with the public transportation system, and then both civil and public service, private corporations, organizations, as much as possible, if we can let people work from home or run shifts, so that we reduce the number of persons who are always out of their home. We need to do that immediately in the eastern region and other regions as well, so that people are made to stay home as much as practically possible, and insist and ensure that the measures that are in place, wearing of the mask, social distancing, hand washing, that currently, those are the effective tools we have. And then immediately identify those who have been infected, contact trace the contact, and try to manage the situation. So both from the preventive and the case management aspect needs to be strengthened. And I think the health authorities, the educational authorities in the region should immediately put in some of these stringent measures.
Professor Yosin, we're very grateful for your time with us this morning. And the discourse continues on COVID-19, especially now that it is ravaging our senior high schools. That was Professor Alfred Yosin, Head of Community Health at the University of Ghana Medical School. The conversation now veers into the court process, election petition 2020. And of course, that one that has been brought by the NDC's candidate, John Dramani Mahama, against the first respondent, the Electoral Commission, and the second respondent, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It continues today in court, and we've seen Asiedun Ketia testify as a witness. We have also seen Dr. Michael Kwesa-White, the two that initially we were told would be serving as witnesses. In an interesting development yesterday, we now have Robert Joseph Metonunu, who is going to be in the witness box today. Now, joining us for that conversation, Joseph Akablea, court correspondent. He's going to be walking us through what to expect today in court. Joseph, if you can hear me, so let's start from yesterday and that development with regard to admitting Robert Joseph, popularly known as Rojo Metonunu, as a witness in court.
In fact, we got wind of that particular development at 3 p.m. But prior to that, you recall on Wednesday, there had been a hint of such a development. You recall at the close of proceedings, Mr. Chikata had asked that the court allows for him to engage the bench in chambers because of a request that he had wanted to make about a potential witness who, due to health conditions, the witness is unable to join and be present in court. And so that also, he said, explains why a witness statement had not been filed for that particular witness. And so he had put in that request in order to meet the justices in chambers. And we must confirm that at 3 p.m. when we got the statement, we reached out to our sources, and our sources did indicate that Mr. Rojo Metununu is the witness that he was referring to. And so that statement has been filed. We do not know the form that the cross-examination will take because we understand that there are some practical challenges that we may have a unique cross-examination taking place this morning. I haven't gone into the courtroom yet. I was trying to go in, but it has not been open for the press to go in yet. So I'm unable to tell whether there's any difference in terms of the setup for this morning, Ben.
So before we dig into why exactly we're going to have Metununu there in terms of what he has been saying, on a bit of a lighter note, when we saw Pesa White, Dr. Michael Pesa White, in the stand, there was talk about the fact that he had not done justice to the petitioner for whom he was witnessing, that is John Dramani Mahama. Is there any suggestion that this could have affected, the case to the point where we had to have Rojo Metununu actually be on the stand?
I guess the point needs to be made that as far as the petitioners are concerned, their witnesses have so far performed admirably well. And so they insist that they discharge themselves quite well. And so starting from Johnson Asiedu Nketia through to Dr. Pesa White and the other individuals, they make the point that they have all discharged themselves creditably. But you recall that when Dr. Pesa White did testify, concerns were raised about why he's reporting on matters that he did not hear himself. These are in terms of the instructions that came from the EC chairperson. He did indicate that it was Mr. Rojo Metununu who spoke to the EC chairperson directly. And so the question had been raised as to why he's not testifying to those matters directly, since he has personal knowledge of them. And the understanding that we are getting is that he was to be part of the 5 individuals who are supposed to testify. And the only reason that he was not part of the initial 2 that were filed was because of the health concerns that accounted for this particular delay. And so that is the information that we have. It's the practical difficulties that put him in a situation whereby his statement could not be filed earlier. And so either than that, they have no concerns having him come over to testify, and they insist that their witnesses have so far discharged themselves creditably.
Now, we've heard from Metununu. He's had quite a lot to say, and we see how that will pan out in court today. But there are a number of issues. I would like you to just break them down for us. He's spoken about the Electoral Commission not fulfilling its duties, some of its duties in the course of election 2020. He has spoken about the fact that he was hoodwinked, misled, so to speak, for example, in the signing of the coalition sheets when it comes to the Ashanti region. He's spoken about the faxing system, among other matters when it comes to election 2020. What are some of the crucial points that we should expect Rojo Metununu to discourse on in court this morning, or to be quizzed on in court this morning?
So there is an interesting claim. This is the first time that we are hearing this claim in any of the documents that has been filed. He says there's a difference of about 1,700 in terms of the votes, what was published on the EC's website by way of the pink sheets, and the pink sheets that they were presented to at the EC strong room. And so a difference of 1,700 votes. And so that is a fresh allegation that has come up. The other one has to do with a claim that Dr. Serebo Kweku, who we know as the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, was coming in with results from regions when the fax system was not working. And Mr. Nunu says he did not even indicate from where he was obtaining these results or these pink sheets, where he was obtaining them from, but he brought them over to the strong room. And so that is another fresh claim that we expect will be interrogated. And then comes the claim about being misled to sign the pink sheets. And the point he makes is that he was told by the EC officials that once his agent has signed it at the regional level, the only option he has is for him to go to court. And so that is another issue that we understand will be closely cross-examined by the lawyers in this particular issue. Then finally, the point about what exactly the EC chairperson told Mr. Nunu. The claim that has been made by Dr. Kwesa White was that they were instructed by the EC chairperson to leave the strong room and go and confer. Mr. Nunu does not use the word instruct. He said they were told that we should go and consult with our flag, our presidential candidate. So that is how he puts it. He quotes saying that we were told we should go, and that doesn't use instructed or asked. And so we understand that will also be another matter that will be closely cross-examined by the lawyers for the respondents in this particular matter.
So as we wrap up, Joe, I'd like to find out from you, is it only Meto Nunu, so to speak, that we're going to see in the witness stand today? Is there any possibility of having the Electoral Commission's chair there as well today?
In fact, at the last time when Dr. Kwesa White was wrapping up the testimony, even a day before that, the Supreme Court judges had indicated that if they finished with that of Dr. White on time, the EC chairperson will take the stand. And so it is our understanding that if time permits and things are wrapped up in relation to this witness on time, then there could be the possibility that the EC chairperson takes the stand today. If not, then it will have to be at the court next date.
And the session starts at 10 today?
Yes, that is so.
Joseph Akable is our court correspondent. Thank you very much. Kudos to you for the wonderful work you've been doing, and we'll cross over to court at 10 to give you all the information as they pan out. Welcome back on the AM show, and we're talking energy matters. Oftentimes when you hear of energy, you think of it as something far, far away, like something from a movie. But indeed, we're going to bring it much closer to you. It's all about the energy quest. It's a discourse with Leslie Arthur Esiedu, host of Energy Quest. And we're going to hear quite a bit about this show that is going to air right here on this network. Leslie, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What's the experience been like so far? I mean, this project you've embarked on, you are an industry player, and so this comes to you like second nature, and you're going to be breaking it down for all of us who are sort of minnows when it comes to energy. What's the experience been like?
Well, it's been phenomenal. It's been really interesting. I realize people outside the industry have grown lots of interest as we talk to more people about it, as we try to get people's opinions about what they've already watched. It's quite interesting. The whole idea came up because we realized that energy issues only come up when there's a negative story or there's something sensational to be talked about. But this time, Energy Quest is going to give Ghanaians an opportunity to know what the industry actually is, what energy has to offer for us, energy covering both petroleum and power. Yes, so
all the dynamics of energy, basically.
Exactly.
Why Energy Quest in the first place? I mean, you've made mention of this, but on our radio, on our television, it's not been a space that has really been occupied. Why this at this point in time?
Yeah, so why not this time? I mean, it's long overdue. By now, energy should have been central. Like I explained the other time, once it's something that contributes so much to GDP, once it's central in all that we do, energy affects everybody's life. So that's something that the everyday person should understand and know what's going on there. So Energy Quest is going to give everyone that opportunity. And then we're going to touch on all kinds of issues. You tend to get to learn a lot. The young people also get to have a good understanding, opens their eye to what energy really is. And yeah.
So I'll be looking forward to talk about different aspects, you know, for example, oil reserves, the 2.5 billion barrels that we're said to be left with, unless we get some other, explorations happening and some discoveries and all of that. All of these feed into our power system, and I'll be looking forward to, getting more insight into those as time passes.
Yeah, so we're actually going to cover, for petroleum, we cover downstream petroleum, upstream petroleum. For the power side as well, we cover both ways. We're going to look at various aspects that are often not talked about. The first edition, that was last week, we talked about petroleum price deregulation, which affects every Ghanaian. There are lots of Ghanaians now who do not even know that the government does not price their fuel. They just complain and say, oh, why is the government increasing fuel at this time? Why? But with this show, the layman on the street gets to understand, oh, price is deregulated now. It's the oil marketing company who is actually pricing at the pump. It's actually a bulk distributor who is importing it and not the government. It's about Platts or what are the other factors that happen in the world that determines price. Okay, so this coming Sunday, we are going to address electric vehicles in Ghana. That's something that people are really excited about.
Like a Tesla moment right there.
Yeah, you got it right. Yeah, because Ghanaians think that there are no electric cars here. So it's going to be very
I honestly actually didn't know. Because I look at our system, gas, yes, I mean the normal fuel, but electricity, especially looking at our system and electricity bills and all of that, and the complaints we always have.
It's not even enough for us,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
So how do we have electric cars? That's why you should watch Energy Quest, because that's going to be your eye-opener. You'll be amazed how easy it is to use an electric car in Ghana, how cheaper it is, how accessible it will be for the everyday person, nothing complicated. It will be just so interesting. I think viewers should look forward to it.
You know, this also reminds me of a time when I went to the Kantanka plant.
Okay.
I think they have also had some of these things in the works. So interesting thoughts that are running through my mind now.
Amazingly, lots of there are people who have imported electric cars and are using electric cars in Ghana. There's a company here that is actually set up and is going to start assembling right here in Ghana. Kantanka is on that. So there's a lot going on. Ghana is actually moving to the next phase with energy. But if you don't have an opportunity like we are going to have with Energy Quest, you won't get to know about it.
Kudos to us. And that is exactly why you can't afford to miss the show. Now tell us, I'm curious right now, what is the makeup of the show? 30 minutes.
Yes, 30 minutes. So within that 30 minutes, we are going to give viewers so much. First, we're going to start with a docu-feature that actually gives you good insight into what the show actually, what the topic of the day actually is. And then after that, we have interviews of various leaders in the industry who delve into those issues and then give us all a good understanding. After, we have a segment that is very, very dear to our hearts. That's a Women in Energy segment. So on this segment, we project women in the industry. You know, typically we have very, very, very few women in the industry. So
I was just about to allude to that. It's one of those industries where you don't have too many women going in.
Because even finding the kind of women we need per what topic you want to look at is quite difficult, actually. Yeah, so this show should actually even encourage that young girl out there who wants to venture into this industry. When they watch such women, they realize, oh, so it's doable. Okay. You know, and then it can actually direct them that looking at this woman's story, if I study this cause or that cause, I could also be in her position. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting, yeah.
Now, this is a bit of a novelty, so I'm going to have to ask you, in this first season of Energy Quest, how are you going to quench our thirst when it comes to energy? What should we be looking forward to?
Okay, so we're going to touch on all aspects. Already we've done something downstream on price deregulation. We're going to open your eyes to what happens with electric cars in Ghana. We're going to talk about local content as well, which is a very interesting topic that people are interested in because they do not understand why we have so many foreigners in the sector. People are looking at opportunities. How do I get into the sector? What are the policies? What are the easiest way these can be possible? I mean, so we're going to address those things. We're going to do something on energy and development. It's going to have, I mean, all that you expect and more.
So at least we have one show to fall on that we've had already.
Yes.
And what was discussed? What was the discussion?
That's the petroleum price deregulation. That's what was shown last week at 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. And then the repeat is on Wednesdays at 2:30 p.m. So this coming Sunday, don't miss it.
So let's get the dates and times again so it can stick.
Yeah, so
in the
Sundays
minds
at
of
6:30 p.m.
Sundays at 6:30 p.m.
And then
the repeat?
The repeat is on Wednesdays at 2:30 p.m. Yes. And if you missed it, you can catch it online as well. We have our partners who are also helping us show that online. You can get it on Graphic Online. Energy Quest TV, we are on YouTube as well. You can also watch it on Kente TV. Yeah.
Now, in the coming episode, I mean, the next one we're going to be having, what should our viewers expect?
Okay, so they should just get ready. If you want to own an electric car in Ghana, after this show, we're going to teach you how, we're going to show you where, and then you can get your electric car. We're going to make you understand how easy it is to own one in Ghana, how cheap that it is, very economical, you know. So, I mean, petroleum people would even be excited about this because it's taking us to the next level. Everybody is interested in green energy. So yes, that's what the next episode is going to do for viewers.
And when it comes to Cubica Energy, how do they fit into all of this energy quest and pushing this drive?
Okay, so Cubica Energy is a marketing company that is into fuel marketing. But in addition to that, Cubica Energy is a consulting firm that has great passion in the industry. So Energy Quest is a project of Cubica Energy.
Right.
Yes, that's what it is, yeah.
Okay, so we look forward to it. Energy Quest coming your way. You don't want to miss that. Maybe your final words to all of us Ghanaians?
So all I would want to say is that Energy Quest is not just a show, it's an opportunity. On Energy Quest, viewers would know what the energy sector is about, but not only the knowledge of it, you get to know the opportunities available if you're a business person, how you can get into the industry as well. With Energy Quest, you get to understand energy is not that complicated. Energy Quest demystifies it for the least person to understand. Energy Quest answers all your questions. So don't miss out on Energy Quest. It's going to be again on Sundays at 6:30 p.m.
Repeat Wednesdays.
Repeat on Wednesdays at 2:30 p.m. And Energy Quest is brought to you in collaboration with Engineers Africa, and we are supported by Graphic as well as Santor Energy. So we'd like to say a big thank you to them for helping make this a success.
So on this network, 6:30 p.m. on Sundays, Wednesdays the repeat, 2:30 p.m. You can also check it out, Energy Quest TV, Kente TV, right?
On Energy Quest TV, Kente TV, and Graphic Online.
Well, so that is it. You don't want to miss the show. Let's dig into energy. That is the future for Ghana. What is the future for Ghana when it comes to energy? We'll delve into that. Time now to actually move on to Showbiz. But Leslie, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for your time and thank you for having me.
Great. Showbiz is next with Kadi. Do stay.
Good morning, you're welcome to the Showbiz segment right here on the AM show. Now let's move to our very first story. A few weeks ago, rapper Amarado was threatened on live radio after he claimed to be the best rapper in Ghana. Now in this interview, he shared exactly what happened and also what he's done to protect himself after the caller threatened to stab him to death. He also debunked rumors that he's part of the Illuminati because of his ring. Watch.
So I was just on a radio station to tell people to keep voting for me. I think that Saturday we were supposed to have Ashanti Music Awards. So I went to Kumasi for it and we got to the calling section and the person called and threatened me that he's going to stab me if I don't stop saying I'm the best rapper in the country as of now.
Wow. So did you get scared? How did you feel after that?
I was very scared and quiet.
Yeah.
So I asked him twice that if he really means what he's saying, and he said yes, he's going to meet me up with a gang. But you know, it's one of those things. Sometimes if people don't like you, they have means of showing it, but it shouldn't get to that point because Ghanaian showbiz has grown beyond that. And I know somehow, somebody will just get them, but we're putting things in place. My lawyer is aware, made a statement to the police. We're just praying that he never comes forward to do such a bad thing. But if he does, then we'll put him.
So do you have like protection or something like security? I mean, I don't know. You came here alone.
No, I didn't come here.
You didn't come here alone. Do you have protection? You have like guards?
I came with my boys.
Okay.
Not guards, but my boys, my home boys. So I'm cool.
Yeah. But you didn't have your boys before.
I have them. They were with me.
Before the call came?
Yes.
But you have extra protection now.
I even have good men.
Okay, so you call the police, so you've informed the police about
it? I made a statement and my lawyer is aware, so whenever we sense that kind of threat from anyone, then we know that it is the person. But we're still tracking the person, so we pray we catch the person.
Yeah, but is it the first time you're having a threat?
Yeah, that's the first time. And funny enough, I don't know why I shouldn't be able to say I'm the best rapper in the country. 2020, the year under review, I did my best, showed my prowess, and Ghanaians really loved it. So if I'm saying I'm the best rapper, I know your favorite rapper can also say they are the best. You can't question my confidence, you get it. So I think people should know when to describe how they feel and how to, because doing this can end you up in prison. You get it? So it's very bad.
Okay, so 2021, what are you hoping to achieve this year, and then what should we expect from you?
Yeah. Okay, I'm hoping to go beyond where I've reached now. I'm praying that my fan base keeps enlarging, because now I've got a couple of people who are really eager to fight for me, and I want to multiply them with the Army Lions. That's how I call them, Army Lions.
Is that your fan base?
Yeah, Army Lions. If I say Army Lions, they say let's roar.
Oh, okay.
They're very crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that I don't fall off. I keep up with the good work, and my team also holds me down as they've been doing it. Only God knows where we can be. My first song actually features Sako there. We are dropping in the street Friday. I pray Ghanaians hold it down.
Okay. Well, what's this?
It's a ring.
It has the Illuminati sign.
No, it has a triangular sign.
No, it's like the Illuminati sign.
No, it has a triangular sign and a G. Which
a lot of people are saying it's Illuminati.
No. It's just a triangular sign with a G. Which
but I'm sure you've heard a lot of people.
Yes. But I just love rings. I put them on when I like it.
But it's weird. This is not a normal ring. It's like a lion.
Yeah, this is a lion because I'm a lion.
Okay. And
the triangular sign with the G, that's God.
I don't believe this. What do we have around it? You have something around it. What do we have?
Virtues. Some writings.
You're supposed to know what
I know.
What does it mean?
What do you want to know?
Just tell us. You told us it means God.
It means best rapper.
Rapper Amarado. And we all saw the ring. He said he has nothing to do with Freemason, nothing to do with Illuminati. But you saw the ring. You can judge for yourself.
I was thinking same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a new release, a good one there by Amarado. And that's how we actually wrap up this morning on the AM show. Thank you so much for staying with us. Monday, let's do this again.